$8.9 million was the amount that was paid by the province and subsequently sold back to Bombardier. It's all outlined in these documents that we were given yesterday, but what wasn't accounted for before now was additional charges for maintenance and storage and the initial taxes that were paid on top of that as well. Doug Ford, the Premier, not here at Queen's Park today to answer any questions about this after the documents were released, instead leaving it to his cabinet members to deflect, including Trade Minister Vic Fedeli.
I think the Premier has given his remarks on that and given his comments on that. We're focused on the $222 billion in new business that we've landed in Ontario and on the fact that we created 42,400 jobs last month. Those are the kinds of numbers that we're focused on right now.
So here's some details. The Premier's office says the government bought the used Bombardier Challenger jet on April 15th and sold it on April 27th for the same price. Once it went public, you'll recall the Premier had said it was being sold just 2 days later after public backlash. So here's the breakdown of the additional $200,000 that the taxpayers are on the hook for. Nearly $18,000 for outside aviation acquisition support, nearly $140,000 in maintenance and storage and servicing costs, as well as $34,000 in legal counsel as well. Ford's cabinet approved the purchase of the plane. The Premier himself continued to try and justify the purchase even after saying it was going to be sold back to Bombardier, saying it was needed for frequent travel across the country and the U.S. Opposition parties have spent the last few weeks calling it the gravy plane, saying that it's money better spent on other priorities. In the House today, the NDP opposition leader Marit Stiles pushing to try and get the Premier to pay back the money and the extra cost himself.
Just a few weeks ago, he said he was going to be frugal, right? And that he was going to ensure that every penny was paid back. Well, clearly, that's not the case. So I think the Premier of this province should dip into his own pockets for a change instead of the taxpayers' pockets and pay up.
Well, if he doesn't have the cash, the PC party should, just like they did in 2018 when the Premier had another incident with a luxury private jet in Northern Ontario that he was using for fundraisers. So I'm sure they're rolling in cash. And the Ontario taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for, burning through $200,000 so the Premier could live his fantasy of owning a luxury private jet.
Also, what hadn't been previously disclosed to Alan is the timeline throughout all this. We had heard everything in April, but in these documents it says there was actually a deposit paid to purchase the jet of $500,000 back in January.